The shovel struck something that was not dirt or rock. It was hollow.
That's not a stone, not a root. Something's buried under here.
He brushed the soil away, and a human skull emerged, jaw agape, empty sockets staring.
Oh God! Oh no!
Kevin stumbled back, dropped the shovel. His hand found his phone, fingers shaking as he dialed.
I found a body. A human skull. At my stable. Please send someone.
The operator's voice crackled. Kevin barely heard. He stood frozen, sun slanting through the barn. He stared at the hole, at the bone. The fresh red door seemed grotesque now, a cheerful facade over something unspeakable. Kevin waited, only his ragged breathing and the wind whispering through the scrub. Then, through the dust, the sheriff's patrol car sped toward him, siren wailing in the distance. 1 week earlier, Kevin Reeves finished the new stable, red paint still tacky. He grinned under his beard.
Saul, come on, boy. Time to see your new home.
The Palomino trotted up eagerly, but at the doorway, he locked his legs and refused to enter.
Why are you doing this? You've never refused a stall before.
Kevin offered a carrot, then grain. He patted the floor. Saul wouldn't budge.
Come on, Saul. It's just a barn. I built it for you.
Saul's ears pinned back. His eyes rolled white. A nervous nicker broke from his chest, and he backed a step.
There's nothing wrong in there. What does he see that I don't?
Kevin stepped into the stable, pulling the rope. Saul's neck stretched, but his hooves remained frozen. Kevin stood in the empty stall, staring out at his horse. The pride in his chest twisted into something darker. For 6 days, Kevin repeated the routine. Each time, Saul halted at the threshold, as if facing an invisible wall.
I've tried everything short of dragging him by the legs. He won't budge.
Saul would not even look into the stable. His skin twitched, and he'd snort as if smelling something foul. He called a vet, who found no injury, no illness, just a horse spooked by empty space.
Vet says there's nothing wrong with him. Then why won't he set foot in that stable?
Neighbors laughed, calling it a haunted barn. But Kevin stopped laughing when he saw the way Saul trembled.
Horses sense things people can't. Something in here is wrong, and Saul knows it.
He stood alone in the stable, a chill spreading from the floor. Cooler near the door. By week's end, the stable sat unused, its red door a grim reminder of a mystery he couldn't name.
I need to know what's under there. I'll dig if I have to.
The next morning, Kevin knelt by the threshold. He pressed his palm into the soil. It was loose, crumbly.
The rest of this floor is packed hard. Why is it soft right here?
He rose and stomped his boot down. The earth gave way with a muffled crunch, like a long-healed scar breaking open.
Someone dug under here, filled it back in. A long time ago.
He fetched the shovel from the barn. The red door stood wide, a bright warning behind him.
Here we go. Find out what's been spooking my horse.
The blade sank into the soft patch easily. Kevin worked in silence, sweat darkening the collar of his plaid shirt. He stopped, leaning on the handle. The hole was a foot deep, the dirt below darker, untouched for decades.
Nothing but dirt. Maybe I really am imagining things.
But the sun was sinking, and Kevin had dug too deep to stop now. The shovel struck hard, jarring up his arms. Not dirt, not wood. Not wood. Something that cracked like pottery.
That's not right. That's too sharp.
He knelt and swept the soil aside. A rib lay curved and pale, still streaked with old blood that looked like rust.
This is a human skeleton. I am standing on a grave.
He dug deeper, refusing to believe his eyes. A long femur surfaced, then a tiny metacarpal that could only belong to a child. Then the shovel caught under the globe of a skull. Kevin lifted it out, cradling it like something sacred and terrible.
Sheriff's office. I am on the old cross place. I just dug up human remains. A skull. Multiple bones. You need to come now.
The dispatcher's voice crackled. Kevin barked the address again, then went silent, listening to the faint siren bloom in the distance. He stood in the doorway, skull still in his hands, as the sun bled orange across the desert. The siren grew louder.
Soul knew. That horse knew what was buried here before any of us.
Sheriff. Elena Vasquez stepped from the vehicle, taking in Kevin's shaking hands and the skull he held like a terrible offering.
Set it down gently. Mr. Reeves, don't disturb anything else. This is a crime scene now.
She knelt by the shallow pit, flashlight beams sweeping over ribs and vertebrae. Then she radioed for the forensic unit. By nightfall, the stable was swallowed by floodlights and yellow tape. Dr. Elaine Park arrived, her team beginning the slow, delicate excavation.
Sheriff, how many people are we looking at here?
Park's team widened the hole. Kevin stood outside the tape, hollow-eyed, as the earth gave up its secrets one bone at a time. 4 hours in, the count reached 5. 5 skulls. 3 adult, 2 small. A family buried in a row like a grotesque nursery rhyme.
I've got a child's mandible here. No dental restorations. Likely under 10 years old.
Children. There were children in my stable, and Soul could smell their blood.
By dawn, 5 black body bags rested on the grass, a silent census of a slaughter that had waited 60 years to be counted. Dr. Elaine Park laid the bones out in anatomical order, her gloved hands moving from skull to femur with practiced care.
Perimorting fractures on every cranium. No coffin artifacts. These people were killed and thrown into the ground within hours.
3 sets of pelvic bones bore the wide sciatic notches of females. 2 tiny mandibles had deciduous teeth still emerging.
The teeth, no restorations, no dental visits at all. This family likely worked for cash and never saw a doctor.
Park uploaded the dental charts to NAMUS and every state repository. The wait was quiet, tense. Then a flag rose in Phoenix.
Arizonian dental records confirm a familial match. 5 individuals, the Martinez family, all reported missing from this very county, July 1964.
From the missing persons file, an old photo emerged. The Martinez family, grandmother, mother, aunt, and 2 young boys smiling in better times.
There they were. The people my horse refused to walk over. They weren't just bones, they had names.
The 1964 report read, "Family likely fled to Mexico to avoid wage garnishment. No foul play suspected. No one ever dug beneath the barn."
Someone murdered a family and buried them in plain sight. This case is open, Kevin. And I promise you, we will find out who.
The old newspaper from the 18th of July, 1964, listed the missing family as farmhands for Everett Cross, a local landowner with a reputation for violence.
Sheriff, an old neighbor recalls shouts from the Cross property that night. Then the barn burned.
The man had seen a kerosene lamp moving in the dark and heard a woman scream. By daybreak, the barn was ashes.
That adobe hut, it was their home. If they fled, they'd have taken their belongings.
Kevin stepped inside the crumbling adobe. There, beneath a collapsed roof beam, lay a dusty fabric suitcase.
Clothes still folded. A child's drawing. A rosary. Nobody packs a rosary and leaves it behind. A work contract signed by Cross. A wage demand marked unpaid. They were killed for money.
Everett Cross died in 78. But his son Harlan is still here, a sitting judge, respected by everyone.
A judge. If the father was a monster, what does the son know?
The suspect was dead, but his son now sat in the courthouse, holding the gavel that could decide the case. Kevin drove to the county archive, a dusty basement beneath the old courthouse. The clerk looked at him like he was digging up graves. He pulled every file stamped Cross from 1960 to 1965. Folders yellowed, smelling of mildew and old ink. The first paper. Martinez, Ephraim V. Cross, Everett, wage complaint, 1963. Then another, assault and battery, 1964.
They sued for money, and he beat them. 2 months later, they were dead.
He turned to the final entry, dated the 16th of July, 1964. A complaint for wages owed that same morning. The family vanished the next day. A handwritten scrawl ran across the margin. See cross for answers. You will never see a penny from this office.
Sheriff, it's Kevin. You need to see what I just found.
He described the lawsuits, the threats, the timing. Vasquez listened, her silence heavy with the weight of what a judge could bury. Kevin photocopied every page, placing the copies into a manila envelope. The originals he left in the folder, evidence of a crime no one had ever prosecuted. On his way out, he noticed the same jagged handwriting on other files, all signed by a young Harlan Cross, acting as his father's errand boy. Sheriff Vasquez walked into Judge Cross's chambers without an appointment. He was signing a release order, pen moving slowly.
Judge, your father's records put you at the scene. A 19-year-old boy doesn't forget 5 people vanishing overnight.
I remember nothing. Now, this conversation is over, unless you have a warrant.
Kevin watched from the doorway. The judge's smile was ice, and his eyes promised consequences that had nothing to do with the law.
He remembers everything. He's not just a witness. He's an accomplice in Armani.
A county commissioner stopped Kevin at the hardware store. You are making enemies, Reeves. The judge has friends who don't like troublemakers. That night, Vasquez sat in Kevin's kitchen. The pressure is mounting. My boss got a call from a state senator asking why we're bothering a respected jurist.
But I am not backing down. And neither are you, right?
The black sedan appeared in Kevin's driveway before sunrise. Judge Cross stood by the fence. No robe, just cold authority.
Last chance. Sell this property and leave Arizona, or the next grave they dig might be yours.
Deputy Mendez had been searching old county work records for weeks. Then he found something that made his hands shake.
Sheriff, the county road crew put Harlan Cross on the fence line at his father's property on the 17th of July, 1964, the day the Martinez family vanished.
Vasquez snatched the paper. Typewritten logs, a young man's name signed at the bottom. Opportunity, planted right there in government ink.
He lied about being there. He lied under oath when he swore in as a judge. This isn't just concealment, it's perjury and obstruction.
She spread the evidence on Kevin's kitchen table. The wage complaint, the unsigned contracts, the work log. A timeline of murder.
Harlan was there. He helped dig the hole, and he's been walking free ever since.
Vasquez picked up her radio. I am bringing him in for a formal interview. No more casual visits, with or without a warrant.
He'll lawyer up. He'll bury us in motions.
Not if we bury him in truth first. The press needs to see this before the courthouse closes ranks.
Kevin looked at the Martinez family photo. The boys, 6 and 8, smiling in grainy black and white. He nodded. They were past the point of turning back. At 2 in the morning, a brick crashed through the barn window, landing with a note knotted around it. Leave town, or the horse digs up your bones. By sunrise, someone had slashed all 4 tires on his truck. The for sale sign, struck into the dirt, bore the same handwriting. The county paper ran a front-page editorial. Rancher digs up troubling history. Or just trouble.
They see a trouble-making newcomer. I see the faces of those children every time I close my eyes.
I can't station a deputy at your gate forever, Kevin. This whole town is circling the wagons.
I am not backing down. I owe it to those kids, and I owe it to that family.
He walked the fence line at dusk, Sol's hoofbeats syncing with his own. A shared vigilance.
If they burn my place down, the truth is already in the sheriff's hands.
He hammered the photograph of the Martinez family onto his front door. A promise carved into wood and blood. Kevin rummaged through the barn's tack room, sifting through decades of abandoned tools and rusty horse equipment.
The Cross family stored everything out here. There's got to be something else they left behind.
Under a pile of rotted feed sacks, his fingers brushed cold leather. A journal, initials EC, burnt into the cover.
Everett Cross. The old man kept a diary, and nobody ever found it.
He opened it to July 1964. The handwriting was cramped, shaking. Kevin read aloud under his breath, the 16th of July. The Mexicans came to the house demanding full payment. I told them there was no money. The man threatened to go to the sheriff. The next entry was smeared with something dark. Ink blotted by old fear or old blood, the 17th of July. It is done. H helped me bury them under the new barn floor. We will never speak of it again. God forgive us.
H. Harlan. He helped his father murder a family and then covered it up for 60 years.
He snapped the journal shut. No more threats. No more bully politicians. The truth was in his hands now. Sheriff Vasquez laid the leather journal on the polished desk between them. The judge's eyes flickered, then went still.
This is your father's handwriting, Judge. He names you. He helped me bury them. Care to explain?
An obvious forgery. Some desperate rancher's attempt at blackmail. Do you really think this will hold up?
Vasquez didn't blink. She nodded to Deputy Mendez, who opened the heavy chamber door. An old man shuffled in, his hands gnarled from a lifetime of ranch work. He had lived next door for 70 years. The witness spoke in a reedy voice. When I was 12, I saw two men digging a hole inside the barn that night. I never forgot. He pointed a trembling finger at the judge. One of them was young, about 19. I watched him throw a shovel into the dirt. Judge Cross's hands flattened on the desk. A vein pulsed in his temple, but he said nothing.
You were identified at the scene. Your father's diary is a confession. This case isn't going away, Judge.
The judge's silence was louder than any denial. Vasquez folded her arms. It was only a matter of time. A deputy served the subpoena at Kevin's ranch. He was ordered to appear as a witness for the prosecution.
If I just say I dug up bones and called the cops, I can walk away. I don't need to point fingers.
But then he remembered the skull in his hands, the small jaw of a child who never got to grow up.
If I stay silent, I am no better than the men who buried them.
He called Vasquez. I'll take the stand. I'll tell the whole world what happened here.
You understand what this means? The judge's attorney will try to destroy your credibility.
I know, but those children deserve a voice, even if it costs me everything.
A date was set. The trial would begin in 3 weeks. Kevin spent the days preparing with the prosecutor, going over every detail of his discovery. The night before court, he walked Saul to the fence line. The horse nuzzled his shoulder as if to say, I knew you'd get there. Before the first gavel fell, the sheriff and Kevin took their case to the public. A single microphone, a flood of cameras.
I dug up those bones with my own hands. 5 human beings, 2 of them children. They were buried like garbage under my stable.
He held up the photograph of the Martinez family. The room fell silent.
We have the killer's journal. The entry reads, the 17th of July, 1964. It is done. H helped me bury them.
A reporter shouted the question everyone had come for.
Hay is Harlan Cross. He was 19 when he helped his father bury those bodies. He has worn a black robe for 40 years.
The story exploded. National networks aired the stable massacre. In Sonora, a man named Carlos Aguilar watched his family's photograph flicker on the screen.
That is my grandmother, my mother, my brothers. I have waited 60 years for this.
Within hours, his voice reached the sheriff. DNA was taken, and the bones finally had a living name to claim them. By morning, the judge's allies had scattered. The courthouse became a fortress, and the world demanded an answer. Sheriff Vasquez entered the courtroom during the noon recess. The judge sat alone at his bench, staring at a blank legal pad.
Harlan Cross, you are under arrest for 5 counts of concealing a homicide. Do you have anything to say?
He stood without a word, his black robe falling around him like a curtain.
Hands behind your back, sir.
The cuffs clicked shut. The judge's face remained composed, but a vein pulsed at his temple.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you.
Photographers pushed forward, their shutters firing. The image of the judge in chains would be everywhere by nightfall.
This is a circus, but the real trial hasn't even begun.
Mendez led him down the aisle, past the empty jury box where his gavel had held sway for 40 years. The heavy doors swung shut. Outside, the crowd's roar was already building. The trial began on a hot Wednesday morning. Every seat was filled, and Carlos Aguilar sat in the front row, hands clasped.
I was digging because my horse wouldn't go in. The shovel hit bone. I uncovered a human skull with my own hands.
The prosecutor held up the leather journal. The jury leaned forward as the entry was read aloud. The boy wouldn't stop crying, so I struck him too. The judge's face remained stone, but his fingers whitened on the table. The elderly neighbor took the stand. His voice trembled as he described the night he saw two men digging. One of them was young, about 19. I watched him throw a shovel into the dirt and never speak of it again. The judge suddenly called for his attorney. The room froze while they whispered urgently. A recess was granted. When the court reconvened, the attorney rose and addressed the judge. My client wishes to change his plea. The courtroom erupted, but no one spoke louder than the silence of the defendant, who had finally run out of lies. The judge rose to his feet, waving his attorney aside. The courtroom held its breath.
My father promised them wages. He told the family to come to the barn at dusk. They walked in together. When they demanded the money, he grabbed a shovel. I stood there. The boy was the last to fall.
Gasps from the gallery. Carlos Aguilar pressed his fist to his mouth. The judge's voice never wavered.
I helped him carry the bodies into the barn. We laid them in a row. The earth covered everything. One of the boys was still breathing when we shoveled the dirt. I heard him for a few seconds, then nothing.
The courtroom was silent. Not a cough, not a whisper. Only the sound of Carlos Aguilar's quiet weeping.
We burned the barn that night. My father kept a journal. I never read it again until today.
For 60 years, the only record was a dead man's diary. Now, the victims' names were spoken into the public record. The judge sat down, his face empty. The confession was over. The Martinez family's silence had ended. The judge was sentenced to life without parole. He stared ahead as deputies led him away, handcuffs glinting under the lights. The courtroom slowly emptied. A few jurors wiped their eyes. Carlos Aguilar remained seated, trembling. Kevin walked over and pulled the old man to his feet. They embraced in the aisle.
You gave my family back their names. I have no words, only gratitude.
Outside, news banners flashed. Justice after 60 years. Judge sentenced for stable massacre. Kevin stood on the courthouse steps. The camera flashes distant now.
It's done. They can rest. I can rest.
He leaned against a pillar and let the tears he'd been holding all day fall. Sheriff Vasquez found him there. She didn't speak. She just put a hand on his shoulder.
You did a good thing, Kevin.
A month after the verdict, Kevin stood before the stable with a sledgehammer. The red door fell first, then the walls. He hauled the lumber to a bonfire pile. Where the pit had been, he planted marigolds and a yucca. His blistered hands worked the soil gently. A wooden cross and a bronze plaque were set into the ground. In memory of the Martinez family, justice delayed but never denied. Saul had watched from the fence for days. Now he stepped through the gap where the door had been. He lowered his massive head and sniffed the plaque, his breath warm against the bronze. Then he lifted his head, shook out his white mane, and began to graze. The space was no longer a crime scene. It was a memorial, and Saul finally treated it as home.
He knows. The horse always knew.
The remains of the Martinez family were flown to Sonora. In a small village church, a funeral mass was held under candlelight. Carlos Aguilar and his extended family surrounded the 5 simple caskets, singing Cielito Lindo through tears. A week later, a letter arrived at Kevin's ranch. Mi familia está en paz. Gracias por devolvernos su nombre.
Peace. That's what they deserved all along.
Kevin walked to the memorial garden and placed the letter beside the bronze plaque. He opened a small pouch and let Sonoran earth fall from his hand, mixing with Arizona soil. Soul nickered softly from the fence line, as if in benediction. They stood together as the sun sank, the sky bleeding orange and gold. The camera lingered on the plaque. Justice delayed, but never denied. Then the light faded.